Think about it. I still haven't shaved. I just had breakfast. I was thinking over breakfast. One of the things I was thinking, I just thought just now, is that we think of professions in according to the complexity of the profession, and people get paid better if there's more complexity and more responsibility, and the least responsible ones, or the least complex ones, the ones who kind of poo poo. I was bagging groceries, for instance, for Kroger for 5 years recently, after I got my computer science degree. Didn't get a job programming because there were large swaths of time I was taking care of my father, and for some reason I thought that I that people would hire me even if I had 10 years of not working for anybody, and found out that I was really wrong about that. Didn't I didn't seek advisement on that, but I still have a bone to pick with that, and that is that people making the assumption that being out of work for 10 years makes you any less of a human, as far as or any less of a programmer. You're still a programmer. You're still somebody that knows how to program, and um, why is it that you're required to get um, certifications and to live up to some standard of what is acceptable now, whenever even the stuff that's made now is made worse than the stuff before, because we're adopting things like rapid prototyping, because rapid programming, rapid what it is it's trying to program in a world where what you created before was a piece of crap, and you're just developing that crap and trying to make it closer to something that's livable, that can be is workable, that you can live with. And that's what the rapid prototyping, all that rapid shit is about. Is about trying to make the shit that you started with to be less shit like, and and all these certifications that you're getting, are there for technologies you need, or technologies that have been reintroduced in a different form? And why do you have to learn the same shit over and over again in different forms? I say the reason why that is because of commercialized software, or commercialized anything, is because um, it's just like the drugs. In the drug world, we get new drugs that are reformulated and repatented and put out on the market again. They're not doing anything better than the previous drug. They're um, just trying to satisfy the look and feel of what you would expect a drug to look like, for that part of the audience that won't take another kind of drug because the guy in the advertisements doesn't look like him. He wants the drug from the guy that's more manly. But it's the same drug, it's just reformulated, right? That's what the drug world does. A lot of copycats. They did that in the 70s. Somebody put out a song, and everybody would replicate the style because they knew that worked. That was the flavor. That was the genre flavor of the month. You know, Billy Joel puts out a song, or Elton John puts out a song, and Billy Joel copies it. Billy puts one out, Elton copies it. Copies the style, or each of them have their own style or whatever. Or everybody replicates Michael McDonald's style. Um, and it's and some people are doing their own thing, but everybody else is doing something similar, like off of Sesame Street. You know, but there are people who think originally, and I was one of those guys, and they wouldn't hire me as a programmer simply because I didn't have certification and I hadn't been doing anything for 10 years. But whenever you have a lot of time to sit around, you're not going to be sitting around doing nothing. You're going to be sitting around watching documentaries and learning about people and taking in information. Um, you're not going to simply be watching football games all the time drinking beer. Some people would, but I don't drink beer and I don't smoke cigarettes and I don't do dope. I masturbate, I look at porn, but I don't do that all the time. There was times that I did do that, and it was um, to deal with anxiety issues, and I now have drugs that I take for anxiety. But how do you deal with anxiety and depression? How do you deal with those things? Do you do drugs or do you masturbate? Do you call to a higher power? Some people say they do, but there are people who are religious that also, I mean, people that were televangelists and stuff that you later find out that they were going to massage parlors to have a happy ending or something because they had heard about that you could do it. So there's a lot of closet people, closet vice cases. And people have vices, and then there are the people that claim they don't, and they're super righteous, and even righteous, being righteous is a kind of pat myself on the back drug. Or you go out gambling, or you spend a little too much time at the office doing work, and your wife doesn't think that your man doesn't think that you're doing that. You think that you're out there cheating, and the real thing is that you're getting off on research or off on having success in the workplace, and you really are there, or you're just trying to make sure that you have security in the future. You're trying to get in good with the with the boss or with the company, and you're trying to. There are people out there that don't do as you expect to, and if there's trust issues like that in a marriage, marriages are not going to survive if there isn't some is not some negotiation between and some mutual submission between each other. To mutual submission is to say that that the husband and the wife neither are above each other, be above the other. They're both above and below each other. They're in negotiation. It's a partnership. It's not a dictatorship. It's not a it's not a battle. It's not a tug of war. It is a tug of war to sense, but it's not a war. It's a tug. It's a how much rope is going to be on your side today? How much rope is going to be on my side today? You know, you're going to have to give me more rope today because I'm dealing with something that's really kind of hard right now. And some of that rope may involve you coming to my rescue, and I'll come to your rescue tomorrow. So I've never been married. I can imagine it's really I commend the people that are married because I don't know if I could do it. The closest I can come to it is the relationship I have with my mother. She's got things that she needs to do, and she calls on me to do things that she can't do, and that's the reason why I look after my mom. And it used to be that I lived with my father because he had a steady pension that was a percentage of his income. And so it was fairly easy to live with him, but I was also there to provide companionship because he after divorce decided he would not marry another person. He would not have a second wife, and so he was living by himself in his house. And I thought that if I wasn't there, he'd probably die off a lot faster. Um, because when you're alone, you just it can be depressing, and stress can shorten your life. if you don't have somebody there to to relax you. And that's what I did. I hung out with my father and I looked after him. My brothers didn't see it that way. They saw it, well, this is, you're not out there earning a living doing this or that. You should be out there doing this. And, you'd be a lot less stress on dad if you did this. And maybe there was something to that. But the thing is that I've come to the realization that I'm not the working type. I'm not the good work ethic person that goes out and creates. I'm the thinker. I'm the philosopher. I'm the guy who thinks long and hard about stuff that's going on in the world that nobody has the time to think about. Because that's what philosophers do. They spend a lot of time thinking about stuff in the world. And that's the kind of guy I am. And I could have been made better use of by being hired somewhere as maybe a consultant. And I've done stuff like that in a sense. I gave an example. One example was I was working with a guy creating a tutorial for a program called Breakthrough. And there was a guy named Gary Wood. He was somebody who went to our church in Los Alamos. And I've known him for a long time. I know his children. He adopted his children. His adopted son had, during vacation Bible school, which is something you have every summer, had invited every year consistently more friends than anybody else. And so he was a natural, he was just a natural fun dude that had a lot of friends that he could bring to church and they wouldn't have any problem with it. And he just was very successful at doing that. And he has tried, and eventually I think he came to selling insurance or something, but he was trying to make it as a youth minister, and it didn't work. It's like my brother that wanted to be a music teacher, and he decided to become a lawyer. So that's the thing about careers, is that they lead you to places where you wouldn't expect to be, and probably places that you would rather not be, but you're satisfied with. Um, it says in the Bible that if you hate your life, you'll surely find your life if you hate it, or I mean you'll and if you found your life, you surely will lose it. And so the idea there is that I guess maybe it's better not to do what you want to do, you know, or but to be where people need you. And so Johnny Depp didn't want to be an actor. He wanted to be a rock and roll musician. But he ended up being an actor by accident. Learned that in the Amanda Heard trial. I mean, or I think that's where I heard it, that was the case. But it was accidental. It was really that his friend Nicolas Cage was trying to get him to become an actor, and and he his agent, like, well, that was one. And then there's another guy. His name was Rick Springfield. And what Rick Springfield was trying to do was he was wanting to get his album released. The record company wouldn't release it, so his agent said, "I've got a little acting deal over here. If you could do that, then maybe later you could start up this rock and roll thing." But he said he just was out of funds. He needed work. His agent gave him a job, or sent him to these people doing this series, this hospital thing on drama TV. And the people, he said that when his album finally came out, or it was finally getting played, people were noticing that he was on General Hospital too, and they were confused. Are you a musician or an actor? And the thing was, he was a musician. The actor thing was really just something he did because he needed the money, you know. And so, and I was still confused because I was thinking, I don't really go for actors becoming musicians. That's the way I was thinking about it in the 80s. Now you realize that really he was a musician from the beginning, and that the actorship is not wasn't part of his ball game at all. Peter Frampton uh, used to be idolized by girls, and he wanted to be recognized as being a real musician and not some pretty boy, so he decided to join a group that was rather ugly. Um, or that, and he also dressed kind of ugly because he wanted to be a musician. He wanted to be recognized as a musician and not some guy with a pretty face. And so it's a challenge that people who are beautiful have all the time, is to try to get jobs that they, like what's her name, Danica is a mathematician. She was exceptionally beautiful. She could have been a supermodel, but she wanted to be a mathematician. I mean, there are things you want to do, and there are things people want you to go. And I think that it's probably not the case to tell her that you should do the things that you hate. Uh, you should be satisfied with where you are than to pursue a life. I don't know what that's all about in the Bible, and I guess what it means is, it means if you sit around and do nothing like I'm doing, then I'm surely going to lose my life, and it's stuff that I struggle with, and I get these people that come to me and says, "Oh, it's all BS," and I said, "Well, that BS is keeping me alive, because if I didn't have that, then I would be assessing my life according to what I'm doing, to what people expect of other people in the world." And I get this feeling that a possible avenue for me is to sing. But the thing that's really crazy about that is, it's not something that I can, I like kind of the way I sing, but it's, you're always your own worst critic. And I don't see myself as being yet another Michael Bolton, or I don't see where I would fit in with Sinatra or anything like that. I don't even know how to assess what a good voice, what good singing is. All I can tell is that it's on key, and that it's in tempo. But all I'm doing is I'm just playing to a recorder in my head. That's all I'm doing, is I'm just listening to what's coming from the tape recorder, and I'm trying to sing like it, in my head. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything special. Sometimes I would like to be able to mimic the singing style of somebody, and I can kind of do it for a few musicians. I can't do it for the ones I would like to on call, like to be able to sing like Elton John. I like the way Elton John sings. It's a little bit like Kirk trying. If William Shatner could sing, it would sound like Elton John, and that's probably the reason why he rapped Rocket Man. You know, is because he could see himself being able to sing like Elton John if he could sing, because Elton John sings like William Shatner talks. He puts a lot into every sentence. He puts a lot of oomph into every, and he makes it all super. Um, yeah, he gives it a lot of oomph for every. What happened here When the okay, what happened here as the New York sunset disappeared? I found an empty garden. You know, and you get William Shatner, and he says, and it was just like this. Scotty, give me forward thruster. You know, so they're pretty similar in the way they present things. Tom Petty is like this. Well, you know, Tom Petty is just a mellowed out um, uh, Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's like, What happened here is the New York sunset disappeared. I found an empty garden with the flagstones there. Actually, I'm starting to sound a little bit like Neil Diamond. Tom Petty would be, What happened here as the New York sunset disappeared? I found an empty garden by the flagstones there. Ooh, you know. So what you do whenever you talk like Tom Petty is it's basically Bob Dylan with a little bit of something that sounds kind of like a Californian a Californian farmer, you know. Maybe it's a Texas, you know, a little bit of a Texas upbringing. I don't know, but you know what happened here, as in, you know, maybe it comes from some part of the country like Ohio, you know. That's where Devo came from, was Ohio. Neil Diamond would be like, what happened here as the New York sunset disappeared? I found an empty garden by the flagstones there. You know, that's the Neil Diamond. And if you were doing, what's his name? It is not unusual to find everyone. You know, that guy. What happened here as the New York sunset disappeared? I found an empty garden. Hey, well the rest, you know, something like that. I wish I could do David Byrne. Oh, well, what happened here? No, let's see. How would David Byrne do it? What happened here as the New York sunset disappeared? Hey! No, no, it's close. I think David Byrne is a little bit like Jackson Brown mixed with that guy. That it's not an unusual guy. I'm trying to recall his name. So you look, they're pretty close together. Jackson Brown kind of has a mellow voice. So David Byrne has a mellow voice. Um, Man, Weird Al is so much better at doing what I would like to do. You know, he put out I can tell you when I listen to a song. I can tell you when I listen to a song, possibly the inspiration of what song inspired that or what musician it sounds like. Um, like the other day, I was listening to oh, what's his Lewis Taylor. I was listening to Lewis Taylor, and he had a song that it was called um, "Listen Here" or something like that. Uh, it was the song, and I was listening and I said, he's replicating the style of Todd Rundgren. And at the very end, it has this kind of arpeggiated synth, and I was thinking, uh, that sounds like a specific Todd Rundgren song. Um, trying to recall the one. You know, but and his song "Love Light" is representative of the Bee Gees style. If you listen to Jive Talking, and then you compare it to Love Light, it's basically the same song. He basically copied the Bee Gees style and applied it to his song. So when he does pop songs, he goes and looks at somebody else's song and replicates he templates their song and creates his own song using that template. That's not a that's like what Steve Jobs said. It says I I don't I I I steal said good programmers steal or something like that. It's that uh what is it, that saying that says um what's the best form of flattery? Imitation. Yeah, imitation, best form of flattery. And imitation is just what artists do. And just as I was saying at the very beginning of this, is that people kind of steal from each other, you know. And I'm gonna unwind from this. I couldn't get a job because as a programmer, because they wanted me to imitate and replicate the style of what was being coded at the present time and what combinations of software is being used. And the thing that always disgusts me about programming is that there are people that are better than me at it, but they're better than me at languages that I would never code in. I have a certain level of of I have a I have a kind of I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to what I will program in and what I'll use as software. Um, if I have the way of being able to look at a piece of software and sit there and critique the programmer who created the stuff, because I can see serious design flaws, you know, things that could have been fixed, that are clear problems, you know. Um, and I could have been a consultant, and it doesn't bother me that I'm not a consultant, because there's the whole things I could have been that I'm not, because I didn't really search for getting into those positions. And it isn't that that I would be a failure for not being those. It's just that that's just the way it is. You see yourself somewhere, you could have been somewhere with your skills, but you're not there, and don't fault yourself for it, because the world is fucked up anyhow. And that's the reason why Jesus didn't want to control it, is because we're all exploring what the world is, and we're exploring uh, good stuff and bad stuff at the same time. We're learning how to um, we're learning how to live, how to put up with life on this planet. We are not here forever. Some people would like to be here forever. I wouldn't have any problem doing it either way. The thing that bugs me is the idea that I'm an eternal being, because I really would not have a problem if my code, my source code of my soul, my source code, was locked away in a safe somewhere forever. That would not be a problem for me. The idea that that source code is going to be used for other stuff or tortured, put into a torturous work, just is stressful. And I think that's what disgusts most people about religion, is that it tends to try to make people slaves. Now, I don't really see myself as being a slave to a vice. I need porn because it gives me the capacity to relax and sleep. And people that have a problem with that don't understand me. Only God would understand why. So it's really just between me and God. But the reason why I mention it is to let you know that I am not going to try to save face for anybody. And I'm not going to save face for potential employers that would have a problem with me admitting that I have a porn addiction. There are a lot of people who will not ever mention such things because they're trying to keep up with the way people perceive each other in this world, or their fears of how people will perceive them. And if we're all good and bad, you know, some people can't handle the idea of somebody looking at pornography. But I can't handle people gambling. I would never gamble. I would never take $1,000 and throw it on a gambling table in Vegas. Not for fun, not for anything. The reason why is because I've had programming. I've had programming courses where they've shown me what a random number generator does, and I know full well the slot machines use random number generators, and I know full well the random number generators are equiprobable. There is no chance for you to. There's no amount of money. You're not going to win. You're not going to make money off the casino by playing slots. They're going to make money off of you because they put the odds in their favor. And how they do that is with random number generator. And if you understand random number generators, you understand that there's no fucking way you're going to get the upper hand unless you're some math genius that somehow has figured out how they seed their random number generator. If it's with a clock or it's with a ground wire in the bottom of the machine, or it's counting cosmic particles or whatever it is. It's got a chip that cosmic particles are going through, and it's reading the charges off of that, and that's going into the random number generator seed. It's setting the seed for a random number generator. You don't know when the random number generator started, and so your chances of you doing well at a slot machine are very nil. Just as your chances of you using a claw machine your kid using a claw machine to pick up a stuffed toy. If they didn't get their stuffed toy and they want another quarter, you can make it easy on yourself and tell them there's a random number generator in that machine, and the guy who set up the machine set the probability that you would ever be able to get any of the stuffed toys. So the only way we're going to get a stuffed toy out of that machine is if I give you $10 or $20. Eventually you'll get the stuffed toy you want. But knowing you as a kid, you're probably going to get the stuffed toy, go home, put it in the corner, maybe hug it a few times, but it'll get lost in the bottom of a toy chest. But you'll do it anyhow because you're a loving parent, and you see that as the way of being a loving parent. But isn't that still the same sort of thought of the concern for other people's perception of you? And if you see your children that way, that they don't love you as a parent right now, maybe you should paddle them a few times whenever they do bad stuff, so that they'll know the bad stuff and good stuff, and when they're later on in life, that you reared them correctly. and then they come to respect you as a parent in the after, because they're probably not going to give it to you as you are. They'll give it to you somewhere down the road. They'll realize that you steered them in the right direction, but you didn't do it forcefully. And one of my beliefs is that teenagers, the reason why they rebel is they're trying to find their identity. They're trying to find who they are. And parents tend to want them to have success in life. And so the parents use their wisdom to decide what the child should be. And so there's a juxtaposition, there's a confrontation there. And the child, and if the parent is saying you should do what I'm doing, the child's going to say, I'm not a clone of you. I'm not a little clone of you. So don't get that into your head. I am a different being. And if you think that is not the case, go look at This American Life, one of the episodes about the cow named Chance. That the Chance's owner, when Chance died, Chance was this cow that had been on TV, had been on David Letterman and stuff. It was this docile cow that they treated like a pet. But when Chance died, the owner couldn't handle the idea of losing Chance, so he talked about to Texas A&M, to their agriculture department, because they were working with cloning animals, to clone Chance. And the second, this is so funny, the second animal was called Second Chance. And the owner thought that Second Chance would be just like Chance, and he was not. He was not docile at all. He was very aggressive, and he got his ball sack ripped up by Second Chance. But he still was believing that Second Chance could possibly be like Chance. He wasn't willing to give up on the idea that Chance could become a pet, a Second Chance. Stupid as fuck, you know. So you can't ever really mold your children. It just doesn't fucking work. My brother is trying to do it with his daughter, and gave him the baby Einstein, gave her all the stuff. She ended up going to the college she wanted to, and now I'm being told that she didn't. She went to a different college. So, you know, you're not going to end up where you think you want to be, and your parents are not going to be able to get you there. For some people, it might be true, but somewhere down the road, you're going to find out that you're really not for what you want to do. And I'm not a good programmer, but I want to be a programmer. I wanted to be a good programmer, but I came to the realization that programming is really an art form that has a lot of frustration with it, because what you're doing is you're codifying thought. You're trying to take what's in your head and put it in the computer. And what's competing with that is all the crap that's already in the computer that doesn't work well. And it makes it's a confrontation with the computer and the stuff that's in the computer that could be better written and work well, and what's in your head and your own bugs in your logic. Computer programming will actually train you to be someone who thinks analytically, like I am now, with thought. That I would not be able to be as much of somebody that tries to think through things better if it weren't for programming, because it drives you to this end. So this is another one of friggin'